Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Verga. Welcome to the podcast. In tonight's conversation, I'm speaking to Fred Wagenvoorde. This is our second conversation, and I'm really excited to hear some updates from Fred's side and his recovery from long COVID. Welcome back, Fred. Great to have you.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you bringing me back on your podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for your time again. I've been very encouraged recently. We were chatting on WhatsApp a few weeks ago, and you say you've been doing a lot better and getting back into exercise. Just feel free to share what you've done the last year on your journey to find better health.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's still, I would say, an experiment for myself. I think everyone's experimenting what works for them. I don't think it's particularly one niche protocol that works for everyone. But for me, I'm still on the carnivore diet, or at least I'd say 95% carnivore. I've been dabbling a little bit into the more fermented foods, like ether, sauerkraut, and things like that, just to see if it would help my guts. I've been dealing with some GI issues, but that's been since the start of long COVID. But interestingly enough, I'm at a point where I can go for bike rides, I can go for runs with my wife, and I don't have any debilitating issues after them. I mean, in the beginning it was a little bit rough, but I slowly crept myself up over time. This morning I ran an hour 20 with my wife, and it's a slow pace for me, but my heart rate is saying something else, obviously. But I think that's just general fitness, in my opinion. Not being able to do any proper movements in 2 years, coupled with being actually ill, does have quite a toll on the system. But I'm going in the right direction.
That's incredible. Yeah, I was going to ask, in terms of the carnivore diet, I gave it a bash for 2 months last year. I just found I really was craving vegetables and like carbs and sugars and things. My body was like going into shock, like, my word. And I realized the downside of what I was doing is that I believe with carnivore, you need to be including your kidney, your organ meats, kidney, liver, heart, those things. Are you doing that? Because I find it difficult for me to eat those just personally. I don't enjoy that at all. So I feel like I'm not getting the full nutritional needs of my body, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's look, liver, all the organ meats are not fantastic tasting at all. When I have them, I try and mix in some bacon. I do dabble. I throw in an onion, things like that. So when I say I'm carnivore, I'm 95% carnivore. In those moments where I try and make it taste a little bit more better, then certainly throw in what you think is going to add value, but isn't going to make you symptomatic. And what I do as a supplement, I do a complex organ supplement. So it's like a beef supplement that has desiccated organs in it. So that I take every single day, and found that to be quite helpful. To supplement those vitamins and minerals that you wouldn't necessarily get at a higher volume within the meats itself. But the key thing with the carnivore, my experimental phase, is that you need to have head to toe and various meats. I mean, every single meat, from chicken to beef to even fish, all have the varying ratios of vitamins and minerals. And if you aren't combining them to some extent, then you're obviously going to get some sort of lack of vitamins and minerals here and there. I mean, my big belief is you can get, from what I've read, so that you can be sustainable on a carnivore diet. There is going to be a transition phase. I mean, I'm 35 now. I've eaten the normal Western diet for maybe 32 years. It's not going to change over time, right? There's going to be a transition period. There's going to be periods where your body is in a healing phase, and then there's periods where your body is not going to be in a healing phase, and everything will seem fine. So from what I understand, is that there's also a selection of meats that you need to be very wary of, and understand what you are eating and what you're putting in your body. I think diet is number one thing that I think helped me more than medication.
Wow.
I mean, I still remember the day when I decided, okay, I'm going to do the carnivore diet. I guess stupid of me, I went cold turkey, and I think that screwed up my stomach a bit while I was still ill. So don't try that. You need to transit slowly, get yourself into it. And I mean, within 24 hours, I had the best sleep I've ever had. So just cutting out carbs completely, all sugars, completely different sleep. But yeah, I mean, it's still ongoing. I mean, my wife is also semi-carnivore herself, and she's noticed that even in her work environment, she used to hit 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and she would have this slump. Now she's never had it. She says she doesn't actually remember the last time she had one when consuming milk. So it is an interesting phase that we're in. And I understand that the carnivore diet is a bit of a phase. Well, I wouldn't say bad diet, but it's a phase at the moment where everyone's giving it a try. But I think the best thing is carnivore diet may not be the best solution for everyone. Right? You've got to try it out, you've got to test it out, but you also need to be patient with yourself. I think everyone has this aspect. Like I said, I'm 35. It's taken me 32 years to kind of figure it out. So it took me getting ill to figure out that, okay, I'm not putting myself in the best position to heal. And I've never expected myself to take 6 weeks and I'll be good to go again. That's one thing. And it's about just being patient, really. Yeah.
How many months did you find, in your experience, was required before you started noticing positive symptoms, or elevation or a release of symptoms, if that makes sense?
It was consistently in the first 8 months. I was finding that symptoms, I mean, the initial part, the brain fog, within a couple of weeks lifted massively. Completely different. My concentration got better. And then over time, a lot of other symptoms, smaller symptoms that were not really noticeable, that I sort of came more accustomed to as being normal, started lifting. And the fatigue was also one of them that lifted pretty quickly. I mean, I still had bouts of fatigue, but they were not bad at all. So I think, if anything, the biggest component of it was the carbs that were not sitting very well with the system. I mean, I've tried to dabble in. One time I had sushi, and I actually just didn't feel good at all. I felt very sluggish. And it's about consistency. I think when it comes to the carnivore diet, I think everyone has this idea. I know you've tried it for 2 months, and you needed to have the sugar or the carbs and all that sort of thing. But what I've come to notice is that really you start seeing the benefits after 90 days. That's been sort of the more anecdotal side of the experience. And and other people that I've noticed in Reddit that are following the carnivore diet that say you need to push to 90 days. So it sort of correlates to what I've experienced myself. So I think the biggest component is basically trying to stick it out. It's like anyone going on a diet, they want to see results within a week. It's actually not as simple as that. Your body needs to adjust first, and then the improvements start happening, and you just need to be patient with it. And that's why you need to build it into your lifestyle. You cannot, it should not be a forced mechanism or a forced solution.
I agree. Yeah. It's a tough one, man. I think after 2 months, I wasn't even craving, I'd say, sugary things so much as I just was suddenly craving vegetables. I thought, no, this is weird. I've never just wanted to eat vegetables so badly. Like, my body was missing those nutrients, I think, because, like I said, I wasn't doing all the organ stuff as well. I wanted to go back to Jaco Loubser. We spoke about seeing him. You had quite intense heart palpitations, or what you thought was a heart attack at the time. And for those who don't know, Jaco prescribes triple therapy and a blood thinning treatment that helps repair endothelial cells and endothelial damage and help, I guess, break down these little microclots that are forming. Just remind us how long you did the triple therapy for, and then what was your journey with Sulodexide, which is also another drug that Jaco recommends as well.
Yeah, so I did the triple therapy for 6 months, and then went off of it for about a month, and then went back onto it for another 3 months. So cumulatively 9 months. It was an experience, but Yaku, thankfully at the time, was guiding me and making me understand that this is going to be brutal, because it's going to be they call it a Herxheimer reaction, where you actually get worse before you get better. I've always believed in the Herxheimer reaction. I've seen it in sports. I've experienced it myself, so it made complete sense to me that this is not going to be a simple ride. My father-in-law actually had long COVID, and he immediately, when he jumped onto the triple therapy, within 24 hours, he felt better. And my first assumption was that I was going to be the same, but it actually took 5 weeks before I started noticing a difference.
Yeah. Wow.
So it depends on how severe your long COVID is. It depends on what you're doing to help yourself at the same time. So it's a combination of things as well.
Yeah.
And then my wife and I moved to the US last year, end of January. And my one fear moving here was not having someone like Yaku at my side, or being able to at least consult him at some point where, okay, what's the next step? How do we do this? And the one thing that he did say is that you need to get Sulodexide, pretty much. And thankfully, there's actually Sulodexide in Mexico. We went to Mexico, got some Sulodexide there, and then also a friend brought back from Italy. Some Sulodexide, which also lives in the US. And I was just fortunate enough to come across it and to use it. And at the time, the symptoms were manageable. Whether or not the Sulodexide did help me, I do not know 100%, because I was also fully fledged into the carnivore diet at like a 99% effort. So it was also a situation where it could have been the diet, could have been Sulodexide. But the one thing is that Sulodexide is very convincing from the side of when we went to go and get the Sulodexide, the questions at the pharmacy is that, do you have long COVID? So actually, I mean, the word goes around quite quickly when someone has long COVID, and Sulodexide is over-the-counter medication being offered to solve the problem. So it must be in high demand. Surprisingly, the price is still pretty similar, so I'm surprised by that. But I cannot definitively say if Sulodexide was a problem solver for me. But what I have been very adamant about is diet. Diets being the key component. And I mean, I don't discredit it being a solution at all. It's an option out there, and it is being directly linked to solving endothelial damage. So why not? Why not give it a try? And it's relatively inexpensive compared to the medications out there. Going to clinics, long COVID clinics, and all that sort of thing. I don't know if that's just a play of some sort, but I don't feel that's a viable solution. You may as well just go to a doctor. They're going to tell you what their recommendations are, and it's probably not going to work for you. Maybe it will. I'd be very happy to hear that it is helpful, but there hasn't been a lot of evidence showing that, in my opinion, that these clinics have been extremely helpful.
I wanted, just in terms of the Sulodexide, did Yaku ever explain the reason behind it? I understand it helps with inflammation of the blood vessels. Is that the right track, or is there something else that you understand about it?
I don't understand more than what you do. But it basically is meant to help repair the endothelial lining, which is the inflammation inside the blood vessels. And I mean, interestingly enough, I went to an acupuncturist, a Chinese medicine doctor here, just to kind of see what available. I mean, my insurance pays for it, so thankfully. And interestingly enough, she takes a couple of looks at various things. I didn't say anything to her. I didn't say that I had long COVID or anything like that. And she immediately picked up there's an issue with your blood vessels. And she picked up,
Wow.
just by looking at your tongue, looking at your ear, and looked at my eyes and my hands. She said, why your cholesterol's high? So I said, well, yeah, I'm on the carnivore diet, and I don't believe cholesterol being high is an issue at all. She didn't say it was an issue, which was great. And then she said my blood vessels are a bit of a problem. She actually also said that I have GI issues. I said, yeah, I do. So she picked up a lot of things, interestingly enough. So, yeah, from an endothelial lining aspect, Sulodexide is probably one of them. It's been proven from clinical trials to be one of the better options for endothelial damage. And understandably, doing the triple therapy, the one thing that you have to be quite cognizant of is not knocking your head. And I think is very good at explaining that very deeply and ingraining that in you. I was very fearful to the point where I wouldn't lean on a wall. I wouldn't lean on anything like that. I mean, the first couple of months, I mean, I would have bruises all over me that I never noticed that I even knocked myself at all. I was like, where is this coming from? So
I was the same. Yeah.
That was the one fearful thing about taking the triple anticoagulants, was the ability to potentially cause more long-term damage than the physical aspect of it. So, but it's not saying that or discrediting its ability to actually solve the problem, at least initially. Right? Is it going to save your life? Most likely. Is it going to solve all your problems? Probably not. But this is why you need to find that long-term sustainable solution. I don't believe medication is the long-term solution. It's diet. Always say diet.
Agree. Yeah. I was going to ask, in terms of the Sulodexide, how long did you take that for? And also on the note of, oh dear, I think I've just logged out of my computer here. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, sorry. I just went to my screensaver for some reason. In terms of the nervous system stuff, did you do some acupuncture with the lady, and have you tried looking at vagal nerve stimulation, those kind of things? Has anything like that benefited you at all?
Yeah, so I am doing that. Funny enough, one of the aspects of going to this acupuncture was to work on the vagus nerve and work on the more neural aspects of my experience, so the vibrations and all that sort of thing. I've been experiencing a few upticks in symptoms post those sessions, which again is understandable, because what you're doing is you're activating to your neural system, and it's going to, you're ruffling the feathers, so to speak. And the expectation is that it's not going to just solve a problem right now. It's going to take some time. I went back to South Africa in March this year, and I went to go and see an osteopath. And interestingly enough, she said, I mean, there's the science part which she believes in, and there's a sort of so-called arts side of it. She used the arts part of it a little bit more. And interestingly enough, I mean, I know to what extent my heart rate is at the moment, or at that time. Just after one session, my heart rate dropped by 10 beats and stayed 10 beats lower.
Steady.
And one of the things that you're saying is that my spinal fluid, cerebral spinal fluid, is not flowing correctly into my brain. So there's a mechanism between mid part of my back and my spinal, my cranium, my cervical spine, where it's sort of locked and it's not flowing correctly there. She actually, I mean, I didn't feel anything. She did a couple of manipulations, like chiropractic manipulations, and she told me that it's flowing better.
Wow,
that's amazing.
I
cannot tell you what she was feeling, but she put her hands behind my head, and she said she could feel it was better. But the one noticeable thing was my heart rate actually dropped 10 beats down. So whether that was a positive effect on my vagus nerve or not, it probably most likely was. It didn't last very long. It lasted for a couple of days, and then I saw her the second time, and the same thing happened. And I haven't seen her since, and my heart rate's gone back up. So obviously there's some sort of connection there. Could be just instability in my in the flow of the spinal fluid. So
sorry, for those who don't know, what is you said an osteopath?
Yeah, so they look at the holistic doctors that look at your entire body. You could almost liken them to a combination of physiotherapy and chiropractor.
I see.
With sort of probably a medical application to it. I am looking for someone similar in the US at the moment, but I believe that most of them love to just pop anti-inflammatories and solve the problems that way. I'm not a fan of that, so I'm yet to find an appropriate one in the US. But if you do want to go and see this particular lady, her name's Helen in Takai, and she's I think that was worth a try. That was a great try and very interesting to see. And yeah, so that's actually great. That's where I'm at on the vagus nerve. I've done a few things here at home. Haven't really found it to be a drastic contribution to my healing, but I also think I haven't been as persistent as I possibly could to help.
Yeah. Sorry, back to the Sulodexide. How long did you try that medication for?
4 months.
4 months, okay.
Yeah.
As I mentioned,
4 months. I had 4 months worth before I had to go back to either Italy or Mexico.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier to you, some of the listeners will know I've done the triple therapy for 9 months. Is it 10 months? No, 10 months. And I stopped. I just found it was affecting my immune system quite badly. And at the time, Yaku had asked me to get hold of Sulodexide. Unfortunately, at the time, it was only available in Italy. I believe he's now got a process of applying through our medical board in Johannesburg, Pretoria, to get it into the country. And for those who don't know, it's an off-label use or drug, so meaning it's not used for this specific reason in long COVID, but he's found it beneficial. So I was saying to you earlier, Fred, that I've just managed to sign those forms, so I'm hoping to get some Sulodexide soon. And like you say, it might not fix everything, but maybe it's a small part of the puzzle, that'll assist. Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that led me to try and make an effort to get it was, I don't know if he actually told you about a story. He had a patient who could not get up, could not sit up without her blood pressure dropping quite substantially, which is a very active woman. And apparently her parents went and bought Sulodexide, so they must have flown over to Italy. Get Sulodexide, came back, gave it to her, and within a couple of weeks, she said, I could feel a change. So that was the selling point for me, just to be sure.
Amazing, man. And what else is there to talk about?
I was actually going to say, one thing I can tell you is that I actually got sick again in November last year. Whether it was COVID, I don't know, but my heart palpitations basically drastically increased, probably substantially more than I've ever had in the past. And but the one thing that I can say is that the longevity of the long COVID decreased. So getting COVID again, I don't think people need to. Don't get COVID. That would be the primary objective. But the second one is, if you don't be fearful. Don't create that anxiety in yourself. If you do get COVID, at some point you probably will again. You just need to take the right actions. Appropriate actions. Don't do stupid things like going out for a run when you are sick. But those are standard things that you would do in any event. And I do believe that we had COVID back in myself and my wife had COVID in November, and I mean I didn't have the fatigue, I didn't have all of the symptoms, but I had a couple of more that just basically sprouted out again, and they're whittling down again. So it's kind of a case of either the body's learning or I'm just doing the right things at the right times to ensure that I don't fall back into that position of not being able to get out of my bed for 5 weeks.
Yeah, sure. That's incredible. It's really encouraging to hear, Fred. I was going to ask, you said you mentioned you did a run this morning. Have you done any cycling at all again?
Yeah, so we did a ride. My wife's training for half Ironman, and she wants me to join on a couple of the things, so I do that. And I mean, last week we rode 2 hours. The week before that, we also rode similar 2.5 hours. I mean, it's nothing in high intensity, but because if I do anything high intensity right now, I do get a little bit symptomatic. So, but for now, I'm happy just going on the easy runs, going on the easy rides. I do swim with her sometimes as well.
That's incredible.
But nothing, there's no distance thrown, massive amounts of distance that I used to do. It's all been very low intensity. And I mean, I think I've never ridden or ran this slow intentionally, but it's been a worthwhile experience to know that I can go out for an hour run now. I mean, I don't do it back to back. I don't do it every single day. I probably talk 2-3 times max a week, but that's better than nothing.
Yeah. Just talk to us about the comparison of distances for listeners who wouldn't understand. What were you doing before COVID and post?
Right. So I was a professional triathlete 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. And I mean, I did a couple of half Ironmans. A lot of my distances were half marathon, 100K bike rides, 3K swings, things like that. And
that's incredible.
In COVID, so in December 2021, I did a race called Desert Dash. It's a 400 kilometer ride through the Namibian desert. And I think that's kind of, I mean, I started getting symptoms prior to that, or just weird, odd sensations happening. And I thought maybe it was just overtraining. So I managed to dial that back. But I did that race, managed to complete it unscathed. But I think we got COVID during the race somehow. And I think that's kind of where everything started basically snowballing down for me.
Yeah.
Then that year in 2022, September, that's basically when I landed up in hospital. I think I was having a heart attack at the time, but it was just quite a significant heart arrhythmia that happened at the time. And that's when I got linked up with Yaku officially to do more tests and see what's going on. And that's when he diagnosed me with long COVID.
Yeah. And what is your cycling distance looking like now at the moment at the slow intensity pace?
40 to 50 Ks around there.
Wow. But that's incredible, man. Just to be on the bike again, I think is such a blessing. Like I've done a little bit here and there, but it's been nothing of like the August cycle tour times, 4 hours on the bike, that kind of stuff I can't do. But I'm really looking forward to improving to the point where I can just do like a short ride, like you've mentioned. That's super encouraging. Yeah.
I think the one thing that you need to know is that it's almost like a gut feeling. When you're ready. There's no one else that's going to tell you you're ready. That's the one aspect that I think a lot of people got wrong with me, is that I've done sports all my life. I want to go for that ride, but I know that it's going to result in significant issues for me post-ride that I do not want to deal with. So I will go for that ride or that run or that swim, whatever, when I'm ready. No one should be forcing anyone to do whatever. The whole physical therapists forcing people with long COVID to jump in the pool and get moving that way and all that sort of thing. I mean, that's a load of hogwash, in my opinion. Actually, I believe you're making it more worse for that individual. Perhaps it will work for a few people. I don't know 100%, but from my experience, person's sick, right? You should not be forcing them to move when they're sick. Sure. But I do believe that you've just got to believe in what you think is the right move for you. That's the biggest thing. And you will get there. You will get there. It will take some time. It's frustrating. But when you get there, the funny part is I didn't necessarily take stock of where I'm at compared to where I was before until I actually stopped and thought, I'm actually going for a run. I'm going for a ride. Just 8 months ago, this was not capable. This was not achievable for me. Now it's changed. So it is achievable. I think everyone will get there. It's just the patience and just trying to do the right, consistent things day in, day out.
Yeah. Amazing, man. Any other thoughts in closing, Fred, from your side?
No, I think that's the biggest thing for me is the patience part. I think you could do more damage to yourself if you throw everything at your body without it doing its thing. Your body has the ability to heal itself. So let it heal. Just you can help it heal by doing the right things. The diets, what you're putting in your body, what you're putting on your body, what you're doing day in, day out, the effort that you put in. Just acknowledge that there's only so much you can do, and the impact that you have mentally on yourself also contributes to you. There's going to be frustrating moments. I mean, I'm not going to be. There were times where I was very critical of myself, but it was more a case of, if I continue thinking this way, well, then I'm just going to take longer to heal. So
100%. Yeah. I do actually two closing questions for you that I just thought of. The one was the more psychological, mental side of the condition, and do you ever struggle being believed? And then also the second question is then on the carnivore, are you doing having any intake of caffeine or alcohol with that? Yeah. So you can start with the mental side of it. Yeah.
Am I struggling with it? I think the struggle was when I knew that there was something wrong, but no one believed me.
Yeah.
I mean, all the tests come back green. They say you're going to live to 120, your heart is pristine, all that sort of thing. And I said, but guys, why am I feeling like something feels off? Feels like something's going to go wrong at any particular moment. And then the first thing they will say is anxiety. Okay, well then, how do I solve that problem? Sure, I can go to therapists, I can talk it out, but I'm a very action-orientated individual. Sometimes talking it out actually isn't the solution in some respects. And in the beginning I struggled, but I got to a point where I need to ask the questions. They mustn't ask me the questions. I need to ask the questions to be able to build my own experiments and build my own way of doing this. And being able to go through the ups and downs. How can I appropriately basically set up my day-to-day where I can be as consistent with this particular one baseline that I have. I mean, I'm not going to the extent of experimenting and putting notes down and all that sort of thing. It's all mental notes, but it's all, you'll know when you wake up, okay, this could be a good day. If I keep this and this in line or keep it in check, then it should be fine. But yeah, the whole gaslighting with anxiety and all that sort of thing is just, I find if a medical doctor says that, that's unacceptable. It's an unacceptable way of treating anyone, really. And it's only because I've experienced it myself. It's not in general. I mean, I've never been interested in medication in my entire life, but I do believe it has its place. And when I talk to a medical doctor about diet and all that sort of thing, the first thing they do is just wash it away and move on to the next question. And my belief was that diet was the biggest contributing factor to it, to my healing. So,
wow.
And then sorry, your second question was
with the diet, do you have alcohol and caffeine?
Yeah. So I tried caffeine a few times. I don't think it was the caffeine that was more the issue for me, but more the mold in coffee.
Okay.
I do believe that some coffees have mold in it. I haven't tried a mold-free coffee yet, just to test it out, but I have been coffee-free for probably 2 years now. And it just works for me. I mean, even before COVID, I noticed that when I have coffee, my body jitters a bit. It doesn't work with me very well, but I tend to believe that it's potentially got to do with mold and not caffeine itself that could be causing an issue.
Interesting. Oh, and alcohol?
Alcohol I've had once or twice in the past 2 years, and it was only it's a celebration with my father-in-law and my wife. I mean, it was once, and I didn't get severely symptomatic, but the symptoms did flare up a little bit, but it didn't put me horizontal at all.
Okay.
It was certainly manageable, but I wouldn't say that is a solution to solve anyone's problems. I know some people go and drink and they said they feel like all their symptoms have disappeared, but then they crash for 3 or 4 days after and things like that. In the grand scheme of things, alcohol is poison to your cells. You want to heal, don't drink alcohol. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's something that I've been processing through. Is like I enjoy a glass of wine now and then, and maybe the occasional beer. And there are obviously the blood thinning benefits of red wine and alcohol. But like you say, the long term, is it assisting? It is affecting your immune system and reducing that every time you have a glass of wine. And I'm just like man, like I really enjoy wine, but long term, I'm like really considering cutting it out for like a good year or two, just to see if it can just give my immune system that little help that it needs.
There is no. I mean, I did this research. There is no net benefits of drinking alcohol for the human body. No net benefits. It's actually more diminishing benefits. I mean, sure, there may be some sort of polyphenols in the wine and some sort of blood thinning aspects in brandy or some sort of other alcohol, but its contribution, you would need to probably have a substantial amount to actually contribute to the blood thinning aspect of that. And by the time that you've done that, you've probably put yourself into a coma. So it's not, I don't think there's any net benefit of drinking, taking a sip of that.
Yeah.
If you're wanting to drive in sorrows because of what you're experiencing, that's your choice. Just remember that there's implications for everything that you do.
Yeah.
And your body can only sustain that much. And it's a point in time where you always come back to diet. People have this expectation when they go carnivore that things are going to change 180 for them within 24 hours or a week or whatever time frame they have in their minds. But you've been eating badly I wouldn't say badly, but you've been eating this lifestyle, different lifestyle for years, many years, and you expect this change to happen overnight. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, agreed, man. Yeah, thank you so much again, Fred, for your time this evening. I think it's afternoon, or actually it's morning your side. Where are you based now in the States?
On the East Coast, Princeton, New Jersey.
Lovely. That's great. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening again. If you'd like to see our first conversation, Fred and I, it was the first interview on my channel regarding long COVID, which was really exciting. So I'll put the link below for that. And yeah, thanks again, Fred. It was great to have you again.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.